One.
So, hello everyone, welcome to Yoga at Bonnevaux. I don't know where you are in the world, but here in France near Poitiers, it's hot and very sunny and very summery. So we've been walking around some themes, and I'll just do a little recap like I did last time. But the big themes have been, well, the big question I always ask myself is how can these movement practices or yoga practices be helpful, meaning give you tools to make up your own practice. And it seems to me that a very helpful place to start is with the sense of your own weight, the way you experience your weight, the way you can move your weight around, the way the sense of your weight moves when you swing a leg or move your arm. And it is helpful because it takes us gently away from talking about our bodies, judging our bodies and our movement, and looking at our bodies. That's the thing. We're so into looking, which is what you're doing right now on that camera. We're looking. And so in the weight, in fact, can almost give us, across the camera, a feeling that we're moving together and we're touching each other, because we have a common story. We are all weighted beings on this planet. We don't float off in our bodies. So that's a very good place to start. And usually you can tell if you're feeling relaxed and at ease and if you're not frightened, because you can make contact with the sense of your own heaviness all over the body or in different parts. And that's not so easy to do if we're feeling threatened or frightened or late or whatever. And the weight then opens the door to the garden of the body, and we step into the garden and we discover that there is a breeze flowing through the garden, and that's our breath. And the breath is not something, again, that we should look at and manipulate in the beginning and force into belly breathing or whatever. It's just a beautiful gift, a grace, a luxury to notice that we're breathing and how the breath moves the body. So that's how we've been coming in to the garden. And then I've been introducing the fact that there are these antlered squirrel that live in the garden. They have been yogis for centuries, and they know how to do things like bilocate and stuff, that you can learn on Zoom. And but the antler and the tail is a very real way of getting your spine to lengthen and getting yourself to notice it and love it and feel its tensions and its curves. And then it gives us something that we know about, but we don't often put words to, which is that we have a central river to our garden. We have an axis. And in fact, that's what we do. We get up on our 2 feet and we move this axial sense of me in the world. And then it gets all gummed up and it can be tight on the front or tight on the back. So we've been opening the head to tail, and then we've been letting this axis breathe and discovering that if I have an axis or a central river, then I have a periphery or borders, container, edges to my country. So that's the thing that we've been working with. And obviously the movements are bending forward, bending back, flexing the hips, tilting the pelvis. That's mostly where we've been. And so we'll do that today, and we'll start to go and look at standing, the foot, and what happens when we move the legs and we move the spine together. So just lying on your backs, if you're not doing that already, with your legs bent, your feet on the ground, drop your arms on the floor. Yeah, just drop your arms and you may have already been doing that, but if you haven't, just making contact with the sense of your own weight. So we do that through what the feet are telling us, through what the bum on the floor is telling us, or the shoulder blades, and definitely the weight of the head. And a nice way to listen into the sense of the weight of the head is to let your mouth fall open a little, Let your eyes soften like you're just about to go to sleep, beginning to doze. And then as the mouth opens and the eyes soften, just allowing your head to rock or wobble from side to side. Soft, easy, heavy, heavy. And as you wobble your head, you can go and then stop and then go again. Just let your legs rock a little bit towards and a little bit away from each other. It doesn't need to be a big movement. We've done a much bigger movement in the past, but just easy. So your legs are like butterfly wings. Your head is like a coconut wobbling on the beach because of the waves that come and go. And you're in your home. You're on the floor somewhere. If you've been doing yoga with your dog or your parrot, that's wonderful. Wobbling head, gently wobbling legs. Okay, and then begin to imagine and feel that your tail is long and heavy. So you have a spine with the sacrum and the coccyx, you know, those things at the end. And then just imagine it longer, long. It's like your tail is breathing. And it's heavy. And it's heavy, heavy, heavy. And open your imagination so you really have a tail that goes out, that has weight, that takes up space. Beautiful. And at the other end, your head bones are growing, so you're developing antlers or branches or a crown or a halo. So you're getting a head direction and a tail direction. And imagine that the ground is a kind of living thing that is meeting you. It is a living thing. It's not just solid floor, whatever your floor at home is made of. Imagine that it's living and breathing, and it yields to the weight of the riverbed of your spine. It yields to the weight of the riverbed of your spine. So you may feel this more between your shoulder blades or in the middle or down, further down your back, wherever it is. Imagine that your spine is like a long canoe and you step into the canoe. You know, when you step into a boat, there's that feeling of yielding into the water. Just like that. Just let your spine yield to the ground. Beautiful. And maybe the head wobbles, maybe the legs butterfly. Beautiful. Beautiful. Mouth is soft. Let your attention go inside your mouth, maybe swallow a couple of times. These movements can all stop and start. It's really up to you. Swallow, and then allow the back of your tongue to soften. So you might do that by feeling that it's heavy if you can, or that it's wide, or that you're not pressing it neither against your teeth nor against the palate. Yeah, maybe it makes you yawn. Yeah, softening of the tongue, allowing that space inside the mouth to ease open. The tongue softens, almost like your teeth are getting space between them. And then the roof of the mouth, the palate, the roof of the mouth softens and widens and lifts. Yeah. World peace. World peace immediately gets more the minute the roof of your mouth softens. And then you discover that the back of your nose is opening or lifting, like your nostrils are these huge lotuses floating on the lake of your face, rooting down into the deep, intelligent mud of your inner ear. These nostrils are not tiny little straws where you suck air in, but they're these huge, discs on which air falls. It's constantly falling. There's no struggle to get air. Yeah, and then the eyes are the same. Also the eyes, soft and wide, floating on the lake of your face, easy, deep, deep. Your eyes are making roots with your ears. That's actually, that was in English, but there's the Sanskrit somewhere in the, I think, the Hatha Yoga Pratipika. So amazing to think this very old sentence. The yogis knew that we get so visual and so focal and tight in our eyes that it's as if they become unstuck from the gravityness of our ears. And us with all our screens and all our busyness and agendas and so on, even more. So just letting the eyes float on the lake of the face and letting them have roots into the ears. Deep, easy eyes, making you smile. This is a complete waste of time. It's quite marvelous. The lips are soft. Yep. And then just make a sound. It's the most deliciously stupid sound that you could possibly make. And it's a gravity sound. It's just the air. It's not a I'm talking to you sound. It's just it could be a toilet sound. It could be a going to sleep sound. It could be this is so delicious what you cooked. I have no words for it sound. Yeah. And then two of those utterly stupid sounds, one after the other. And the spine is heavy and the head is wobbling. Now, as you get heavier and your antlers and tail gets longer and you become more and more stupid on the ground, you discover that your fingertips are waking up. That the viriditas, the greening power of life, of creativity is starting to scintillate in your fingertips. And your fingertips are germinating and beginning to go up. But not your hands, no tension anywhere else. So as the hair falls out of you, the fingertips begin to go up. See if you can keep that contrast of a heavy, heavy river running through your country, but fingertips taking fingers, taking hand, taking forearm. Your elbow should be on the floor. Just bent at the forearms, heavy in the spine, flying through the fingertips, totally relaxed tongue. It's the full, delightful catastrophe, heavy feet, fingertips, hand, forearm, bent at the elbows. So your elbows are making roots and your fingertips are making wings. And then just drop the forearm. Beautiful. You drop the glove and the contacts. And then fingertips waking up. Fingertips taking fingers, taking hand. Up to the forearm. But your elbow is rooted and your forearms are as vertical as they can be. Yeah. And your forearm begins to make little circles, little waving from side to side. Not so much in the wrist, but from the root, and because it has wings, yeah. And the head is free to wobble, and the mouth is deep. Yeah. Try to feel that your forearm is a rooting system. It's a plant that's rooting at the elbow. and then the glove of the forearm and the sap in the forearm is rising, and the fingers are growing. Just give yourself time to let the fingers grow the palm open. You don't, that's beautiful. You don't need to stretch. But the more you make roots, the more your fingers grow. And in fact, that's what fingers are. Fingers have roots all the way into your chest. So it's not like as babies in the womb, we grow an arm and then whoop, fingers pop out. It starts as fingers coming out at the base of the neck, these long tendrils of intelligence that will reach out to the world, especially as babies, and then as adults we get our fingers slapped and we're not so free to reach out and touch things. But here you have these, you're recovering these growing fingers, these amazing Dutch growing fingers over here. The more you root through your elbow, the more you feel that you're recovering these fingers that have pathways deep into the arm. And then drop your forearms again. Drop your forearms. Drop. And just rest and breathe and notice the breath. Open your listening to the soundscape around you. Yeah. When I was in London, it was a big discovery for me to realize that with my eyes, I was naming and labeling noises all the time. And I was irritated by noises. I called them noises. So, but of course, and sometimes it is a noise for us and it is irritating. But actually, if we release the soundscape and we make it much, much bigger, we can start to have some perspective on some of these sounds, and we can let them recover the fact that it's a bird or a car, you know, and we don't name it so quickly, or the neighbor. So just open up. You have this huge, long, antlered, taily spine, heavy with a ground that's receiving it. Your fingertips are starting to germinate again, and you're opening the soundscape very wide, very wide, very wide, delaying putting words to all of that, labeling. So reach out with your listening and reach in. So there are sounds inside you, in the ear, in the back of the head, in the throat, we gurgle. Fingertips are growing, fingertips are taking fingers, are taking the hand, are taking the forearm, let it accelerate slightly. The more you develop wings, the more you have roots, feet, spine. Your arms should be now taking off at the elbow. So the whole arm is ascending and the whole shoulder blade is rooting. And then we're just going to play with locating the shoulder blade. So if you lift even more, you'll feel your shoulder blades peel and slide around the shape of the ribs. Yeah. And let the fingers open. So let your arm really proceed out through your fingers. Yeah. And then land your shoulder blades gently and just play with that. You can land one at a time. You can take them both off. Yeah. And as you fly and land, try to keep the wing and the root alive. That's the paradox. That's at the heart of what yoga asana is about. And all contemporary movement, all ancient movement, Tai Chi, martial arts, we're always building, developing roots to have wings, to fly, as some wonderful contemporary movement person once wrote, or we're spreading wings to fly in order to feel our roots. So you just let your arms fly, let the shoulder blades come off the ground. And this time you can go even further. So the arm is taking the shoulder blades, is starting to lift your ribs, almost your vertebrae off the ground, but do it from the wings attached to your fingertips. Yeah. And then landing again a few more times, taking off. And then letting the arms fall. Just letting the arms fall. Beautiful. And again, just before we start to come up, just see where you are, how you feel. Yeah, that's your back. Good. Great. We're just going to let the legs fall to the right. You don't need to move your feet. Just let it be asymmetrical and let the legs fall to the right. If you've had a troubled lower back, this is a wonderful, safe way to begin to work on that. Legs fall to the right, and then on the left side, you can open up by just letting the arm travel on the floor and letting those ribs and armpits do their thing. Beautiful. Lots of room. Yeah. And then the legs go the other way, and it's the other arm. Yeah. So I hope at home, so you'll notice that we walk around similar poses, and so we're building a vocabulary together. And you know, if you've never done yoga, it's safe and wonderful. You can start. If you practice a lot, then there are principles behind which you can take into the kind of practice you like to do. Triple backwards somersault with leg wound around neck, for example, or whatever it is that you do. Yeah, but that's it. So here, if you've been playing with this, there is really a way to let, let's go to the other side again. There's a way to let the weight move the body. You're not shaking it, you don't care where your legs end up, but you know that as you roll, as the legs go, they move by themselves, and then suddenly you feel that they take your pelvis, and then you feel that they've taken your lower back. And so you feel that your body has come into a twist, and you notice that it has a mild back bend down there, which is a good thing, very good thing. Is that okay? Yeah. Great. And the opposite arm can open up, open up, open up, open up. And then I think if you do one more, you've probably done two on each side. And coming back to the weight and noticing how the breath moves you is a wonderful way just to move away from looking at yourself, languaging yourself, and having ideas. Yeah. We can, to describe a movement visually could be a few sentences. To describe a movement proprioceptively could take volumes. Proprioceptively through your senses. Luke, did you say close the windows? Too much noise? Yeah, when all your senses work together without vision being the main funnel into language, it's a very rich world. Yeah. So we've been both sides, come back to the middle. And just fold your legs in. You don't need to squeeze your legs, especially if your lower back hurts. If you really have problems with that, don't fold your legs in. But if you're fine, just fold your legs in, put your hands around your knees or behind your knees, and just enjoy for a minute, rest. Okay, so put both hands around the left knee, around the left kneecap, not the shin. So stay up by the kneecap. And then let your right leg extend along the ground. So you're going to have a long leg on the ground, rivering away from your body. And then if you get your hands around your kneecap, release the leg to the length of your arm, the one that you're holding. And you'll feel that it lets your long leg drop into the floor. Whereas if you pull on it, it pulls the long leg up. This looks good. Yeah. How are you doing with this yoga?
Sometimes awkward.
Oh yeah, it should be.
You can see your bodies.
Yeah, in the afternoon, and the intention. Long, heavy, rivering leg, traveling away, and then the bent leg with hands at the kneecaps. And then with your two hands on that bent leg and kneecap, you're just going to move that leg a little bit to the right, a little to the left, a little towards you, a little away. You can fiddle, doodle. You can change direction. It doesn't need to be too big because that's going to make you fall over and all of that. But we want one rivery flow away leg and one wobble, explore, circle, contour. Yeah. And the head is heavy. Yeah. So the standing poses require us to realize that it's not one leg system, it's two legs always doing extremely different things. While you stand on one, you swing the other, and this then goes into the pelvis, and the pelvis is able to be completely different to what legs are doing. So you could be running for the bus and desperate to go to the toilet and coping with all of that, holding, running, swinging, landing, pushing. So we got a long leg and a bended, floaty leg, and then change legs. Come back to gravity, so it's the heavy long leg. The reason your hands are on the kneecap is so that it helps you to push the big bone of the upper leg by the weight of the arms into the pelvis. So it's not about bringing the leg all the way down onto your chest. That could be a different movement. Little movements. Long. Wonderful, wonderful. And then you're just going to roll over when you're ready onto your hands and knees. Take your time. Head to the middle, yeah.
You can roll over because you get it there.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Ooh. So we're on our hands and knees. Hands, knees, feet about the width of your hips and shoulders. The distance of hands to knees is the length of your trunk. And if you float forward, your antlers travel out into the space. Easy. And if you float back, and when you go forward, the weight goes onto the hand. So that's very good for the wrist and the bones of the hand. And then if you float back, it's your tail taking, are you having a cramp? Yeah. Your tail takes you back. Yeah. And then you float forward again, and we go further. So when you go forward, curl your toes under. Yeah. So when you go forward, you could just sag through. That's fine unless it hurts your back. But you could also have very wakey toes that push up and help you feel that there's a bit of stability. So you can choose to sag all the way down or not all the way. Yeah. And then as you go forward and up with the antlers, your chest opens. And then we push with the hands and we reach back with the tail, relax at the anus and in the floor of the pelvis. And we can go back and you can go all the way so that your elbows and forehead land on the floor. Really put them on the floor. You can wobble your head. Yeah. So we're not in child pose. We're in squirrel with its ass in the air pose. So you have to come forward. You have to come forward a tad. Yeah, that's better. You can tell because when you come forward, it starts to challenge this, which is good. Right here is where some gardening needs to happen. Yeah. Yeah, you need to go forward. Go forward with your arms more and more, and your head. More rhythm. And let's just let your tongue hang out. Maybe you'll start drooling. Heavy through the ribs, heavy with the sound. Yeah. So we're doing something really specific in this mushy place, which is you're letting the sit bones move away from each other, which is rare that we let go as human beings in that dense and intelligent tissue of the back of your pelvic floor. It's these layers of muscle on either side of your coccyx. And normally, for all sorts of reasons, because we're leaning forward or back or whatever, or we have tight feet or tight shoulders, we're holding. So in this position, it's causing your sit bones to kind of shine away from each other. And so by hanging out there, you really begin to release and awaken the tone of your pelvic floor. Yeah, and then that has repercussions up your spine, because all those muscles of the back that are, weaving themselves up, they all have links down into the tailbone. Great. And then we push with the toes. We push with the toes. We start to come through. We start to come through. Toes, 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 toes. Chest opening. Push through, awake at the toes. And so if you look at me, it's easy to kind of come all the way through, but actually to be flexing in your chest. So you can turn your hands out slightly and really let your chest open like a peacock's tail or the cape of a cobra. Open, open, open. Your regard, your gaze opens out, out, out. Then your right heel reaches back, your right knee comes off the floor. Your left heel reaches back, your left knee comes off the floor. So now you're very long and you say some poetry to yourself, whatever language you want. Go over there. Yes, some Shakespeare. What's it to do to die today? 22 some Gilbert and Sullivan. So if you're alone in your room and you don't normally talk to yourself, do, so that you can tell if your sound is constipated and you're talking like that, then you're not free. Reach your heels, reach your head. Go on, John. Some Robbie Burns, some Bobby Burns. Yes. Knees back on the floor, knees back on the floor. And reaching back, elbows, tail in the air, forehead on the floor. Squirrel with its bum in the air. Yeah, and just let your rib cage hang forward. If you have a very back-bendy spine, you can put a cushion under your chest. If your shoulders bother you, widen your arms and tuck one or both under your chest. So you don't want to irritate the shoulder. You should feel that you're really resting on your elbows. Do you feel the difference? That you're more on your forehead, not the crown. Go forward a bit more. And yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so coming back onto the hands and knees. Yeah. Right. So have a look. I'm just going to turn. I think this is a good angle. I'm going to turn to the camera a bit. And what we're going to do is we're up on our hands and knees, and we're going to put just the right elbow down. That's it. So we put a spiral into the upper spine, and then we're going to lead with this right arm elbow under the other arm until the side of the head touches the floor. And you're supporting yourself with your left hand, and you're in this kind of threading the needle with your one arm through the eye of the needle of your other arm thingy under. And you don't need to look for any special experience. It's just that your neck should bend so that you're kind of resting your ear to the floor. It's like in the Lord of the Rings, you're one of those elves listening for people coming a million miles away. Yeah, that's it. So what you're doing is actually you're rotating and bending all the bones of your neck, which is wonderful. And then your other hand is protecting and supporting. Yeah, that's great. Breathe. Yeah. That's it. And then you can make your way to the other side. Back onto your hands. Drop one elbow. Stay there for a moment. And then slowly reaching through.
Lost.
So if you need to check that you're using the weight of your body. Yeah. So it's easier if you put this hand. That's why it was the wrong arm. Yeah. Yeah. And then you're kind of resting on the shoulder, but you're resting on the side of the face. Yeah, and you're bending. Yeah. You're kind of, it's what you might do if you were looking under the fridge to see where your contact lens had rolled. And I'm not sure that's a very relaxing image, but yeah. And so the neck is bending. Wow, this is great for your shoulders. Is that okay? Great. Great. And then coming back. And we'll just go up into squirrel with its tail flying way up in the air and the head dropping. So resting your antlers on the floor, bending at the toes, bending, really getting on top of your big toe. That's the thing. You know, getting onto that big toe. You can slide all over the other toes, but we can have this tendency to be on the little toes. So roll the hinge of your toes, the balls of your toes, so that you're really on the big toe and you're bending, and you can feel that you're stretching deep into that joint. Then your tail is flying up, your knees are bent, your hands are huge, soft elbows, let your spine, yeah. So what's interesting is it needs to feel like you're dropping to the floor while you're sailing up. So you need to have the feeling of both. Yeah, that's better. You need to feel like you're going up. Leave your hands there. Yeah, you're going up, but you're falling down. Brilliant. Brilliant. Huge hands, flying bottoms. Absolutely. When was the last time someone did that to you?
I was going to say.
Not a
You
long.
might also
No. Walk back. Walk further. Go further away with your hands.
Further away.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. See, now drop your ribs. Yes. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a contemplative bottom. Yeah, dropping through. Yeah. Huge hands. So we're going to let, just before we come to standing, come down for a minute. We're going to fly up. Going to be
So you want to really, I don't know if my toes are in the picture, are they? You want to really bend at the toes and not be off. You want to be really on that big toe right there. And then you pick, let's say you pick your right foot, you're on your right foot, and then you let your left leg float up. And now it feels like you're doing real yoga finally. And then you know, this could be a dinner party trick. And then you let the leg, so watch me for a minute. You let the leg float up, but well, maybe I should do it this way. Sorry about my bum. But you're up, and then you want your leg flying leg to turn out so that you do a bit of a weird back bend. That's what you want to do. That like that, and you'll never have to go to an osteopath again or a rolfer to fix your lower back. So have a try. Hands, huge toes, bend at the knees, the leg goes up. Yes, 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 gung ho. Yeah, now let's stay up here a bit more. There, and go up a bit more with your leg. Yeah, and then let your back. Yes, is that okay?
Yes,
that's amazing. And breathe. Breathe. Yep. You need to go much more that way. Bend your knee. Yeah, in there. You feel that?
Yeah.
That's it, David. That's it, Henriette. You want to go the other way. So look, it's more. No, it's good. It's more this way. Do you see? Yes, right there. Yeah, breathe. And then, and try. Try what? The other side. Yeah. So that's it. Less cantilever by bending, and that will make you go up. Yes, that's amazing.
Well, both my thighs, I'm having terrible cramps today.
Are they? Well, what were you cycling or jogging, or were you in the lake?
No, I was in the lake yesterday.
Maybe they're tired. That's beautiful. Yeah. 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 Beautiful. And coming down and just fold into child pose for a minute. Just have a breathe. Have a breathe. Yeah. Just enjoy watching what's happening. Okay, so in the next few breaths, make your way up to standing. Take your time, take your time. Yeah, take your time just to feel what's changing, the breath. Yeah. It's a big movement up here, isn't it? Amazing, amazing to see that. Yeah. Okay. So we're standing, and we're going to take a little step forward with the right foot. Yeah. So the standing poses come early in the sequence of yoga poses because sometimes they are a little bit complicated to get, but they are easier to do than sitting, for example. And the variations have to do with how big the step is and whether the weight is on the front foot or on the back foot.
that's kind of where all, and then which direction you're twisting if you're twisting. So we make a small step, just like you were beginning to go for a walk. That's it. Yeah. And we come back. And we make a small step. And you feel, let's just use the right foot, for example, going forward. And you can feel the moment where if you keep going, your back heel will come off. Yeah. So we're going to leave that heel on the floor, very, very rooted. So we take a step, the weight moves, but the back heel doesn't. And then when you're happy, try with the other foot. Yeah. So it's just this. You can step backwards, which is the opposite. It's about putting the weight onto that back heel. So if that's helpful, you can do stepping backwards. And I put the weight onto my back heel. Okay. Stepping forward and stepping backwards. Yeah, you can swing through from forward to backward. Okay. And your arms should be swinging, your shoulders, just naturally. You know, everything should be, there should be movement. There should be movement. Okay, so we're going to be forward with the right foot, however you got there. Your weight should be on your back heel, so your left heel. Yeah, and it's an easy step. Going to put our hands on our pelvis bones, these big butterfly wings. Yeah. And you're going to turn everything to look behind your back foot. So you can feel the further you go, the further down the rotation goes, right? Till it's all the way down past your knee and your ankle is rotating. And if you keep going, your foot will start to peel off the floor because of the under ankle. Yeah. Okay, and come back. Great. So that's what you don't want to do. But it's nice to know, you know, we can rotate, and sometimes that's why knees get iffy. But this time what we want to do is our hands are on our hips, our pelvises are looking forward, our feet are kind of semi-pointed forward. Now, try to turn everything from the above the pelvis to look behind your foot. Try not to get tight about it, just explore. Yeah. So you may go further or less far, but that's it. That's it. Okay, so some of you only turned in the neck. So it's okay, but it's mostly your neck. But look, your chest would have turned without this moving so much, you see? Yeah, you did a lot more down here and a lot less up here, but that's cool. So you can turn, yeah. And with a little bit of lift, you're going further. Yeah, so we can make that looks good. Does that make sense? So we can, there's just tons of turnout. We did this the other day. Just turn out a little bit. Then I fall over. Maybe. Yeah, so come back. Wonderful. Okay, so now same thing, you don't need to get it right, but watch me. I'm just going to let my arms sail up as I turn my torso, upper torso, and as I leave my pelvis and legs rooted down, just they can adapt a bit, but I'm not letting everything go. And I just lift my arms. So my pelvis is pointing forward and my shoulders are turned to the side. And you just let your arms come up. This is what arms do. They lift the torso off the pelvis. That's great, David. And then look that way. Great. Yeah. 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 And it's just hooray. It's a hooray move. And then come back. And then come back. Same foot. Just let your arms. Yeah, let your arms. We're still going to the back foot, John. Just let it. And you can see I'm swinging and I'm letting. My pelvis may move a bit, but it doesn't have to. Swing. It's like you're casting your net out over the lake. That's it. So that's why this is so important for you.
Well, keep
yeah,
straight.
okay. Because you're actually quite mobile, so quite flexible. There.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get, And then when you're here, what you want is you want that to
Really go
don't
back.
do too much, but yeah, and don't. Yeah.
And you can feel it all opening up.
That's right. That's right. And then come back. That was nice. Yeah, and step with the other foot. So here we are with the sense of weight. I leave my weight on my back heel. Yeah. And then I turn. Yeah. Less here. That doesn't move so much, right? And this opens. Yeah, do you feel? So that stays there. Your pelvis, it's what's happening is your pelvis and shoulders are opposing each other. And you get, that's it. You get a very deep rotation up your spine. So, and I throw my arms out to shoulder level. Yeah, and don't worry about any of it. Yeah. Great. Great. So I'm going to just hold your pelvis. Do what you were doing. Feel the difference? So do it again. This is great, but it's just different. So you don't get any rotation here. Yeah. Yeah. But the pelvis is free to stay with the legs, right? We'll come up with the spine and head and so that's it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So come back to standing. Step forward with your first foot, your right foot. Right foot, rooting over the back leg. Okay. And now we're going to turn, instead of towards the back foot, we're going to turn towards the front foot. And this is what humans do when they walk. Not with the arms like this, obviously, but this counter-rotational move. Yes, that's it. That's it. And you can look out. Just take your time to find it. So when we're toddlers, we move in the movement we just did. We do same side. But as we get older, because our spine has curves, we counter-rotate, which monkeys don't do. Yeah, that's it. So you have this pelvis really turning one way. Yeah. Yeah. So this is in the yoga world. This is Trikonasana. This is reverse Trikonasana. Trikona is triangle. Lots, and open your fingers, yeah. And let your spine open up, yeah. So I'm trying to teach you through your weight. So you're not worried, am I getting it correct? We know that the pelvis is rooting with the feet, so it's not going anywhere very much. But the whole spine, yes. You feel that? It's amazing. The whole spine is turning. Yeah, look at the wall. There. Yeah, let's do both sides. That's it.
There's a bit right in the middle of my back which doesn't like moving.
Yes, yes. Let's have a look. Do the other side. So rooting over the back foot, and off you go towards the front foot. Yes, okay. Now open here. Open. Open your fingers. Now wait. Now just let your head, you feel that? Let your head have room. Let your antlers grow. Let your tail be heavy. That's beautiful. Let your spine rotate. Beautiful. Beautiful. No, this is great. You're just leaning back a tad. So, no, it's good. Here. Is that okay? There. Open your fingers. Long through the fingers. Let your, yeah, so you don't tuck your chin too much. Too much. Nice. Turn. Yeah. So this is starting to move. Do it again. No, wait. So stay there. Open your arms this way. Wait. There. Taller and taller. Is that okay? You feel. Now you have roots, now you have wings, and now your torso starts to get free. Beautiful. Yeah. That's nice. Great. Okay. We'll just close. Let's go back to the first foot. Take a small step. This time we're going to, as we turn towards the front or the back foot, it doesn't matter, I'm going to go towards my front foot. I'm going to let my arms go up, and then I'm going to let them continue to go up. So I really get an inverted triangle opposite to what my legs are doing. And I try to make my pelvis and legs go one way while my torso goes the other way. And I root through my feet. You can play, you can bend your knees a bit. Yeah, that looks great. And look out, open, open. And then I go the other way, so I go towards my back foot, but I don't let my pelvis follow. My pelvis is looking forward, and I drop my arms, and I step, and I swing my arms up again. Yep, if you go all dyslexic, it's wonderful. Just enjoy this. Go more that way. Open your fingers. Yeah, do you feel there? Yeah. Great. That's it. Keep going up so you make a big V. Huge, huge, yes, huge, huge. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, everyone, thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll be meditating here at Bonnevaux in 15 minutes, so you're welcome to join us. And if you have the inclination and you would like to make a small donation, the link is either on the website, if you've come through the website, or if you received a MailChimp from me, it should be attached to the MailChimp. Smallest donation is very helpful. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.